Welcome back to the boarded up warehouse in the bad part of the internet that is my channel. I'm the Irreligionist, and today we have a very special episode. Consider this your trigger warning. Peace, as it is defined in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, is 1. A state of tranquility or quiet, and 2. Freedom from disquieting or oppressive thoughts or emotions. It has been asserted that Islam is a religion of peace. In the debate excerpt we'll be tackling today, it's the speaker's position that this is true. I will attempt to demonstrate through my hilarious commentary that this is a terribly inaccurate way of looking at this religion. But before you get angry, I want to clarify that I hold this religion up to the same scrutiny as any other religion, and would point out that Islam is not unique in its peaceful shortcomings. Also, I have no ill will to people of faith, of any religion. I'm just skeptical of any extraordinary claims made with little evidence. This claim of peace, to me, is no different. So, here we go.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Lovely to see you all here tonight. We are having a very entertaining night, are we not, with some very interesting things being said from the other side of the house tonight. Let me begin by saying, as a Muslim, as a representative of Islam, I would consider myself an ambassador for Islam, a believer in Islam, a follower of Islam and its prophet.
Consider yourself whatever you want. I'm pretty sure the people who do terrible things in the name of Allah also consider themselves believers of Islam and followers of Islam. Except you're going to tell me how they don't count, right?
So, in that capacity, let me begin by apologizing to Anne-Marie for the Bali bombings. I apologize for the role of my religion and me and my people, for the killing of Theo van Gogh, for 7/7. Yes, that was all of us. That was Islam, that was Muslims, that was the Quran.
What the fuck? Did you just build the world's biggest straw man? First of all, no one with half a brain is saying all Muslims are terrorists. What many are saying is that Islam isn't by nature a peaceful religion, and its ideologies support or encourage the kind of attacks you just mentioned. You know, similar to the way many Muslims worldwide think Western pop culture has a negative influence on morality. I don't necessarily agree with either assertion, but that is what is being stated. Second, you're kind of a dick.
I mean, astonishing claims to make in the very first speech tonight, on a day like today, where the Conservative Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is having to come out and point out that these kind of views are anathema. And I believe you're trying to stand for the Labour Party to become an MP in Brighton. If you do, and you make these comments, I'm guessing you'll have the whip withdrawn from you, but then again, UKIP's on the rise, they'll take you, the BNP, they might have something to say.
Ad hominem as fuck. Stay on target, Mehdi. Your charming sarcasm isn't what I came here for.
Just on a factual point, since we heard a lot about the second speaker, about how backward we Muslims all are, on a factual point, you said that Islam was born in Saudi Arabia. Islam was born in 610 AD. Saudi Arabia was born in 1932 AD. So you were only 1,322 years off. Not bad? Not bad start there.
Islam, by tradition, originated in Mecca and then spread with Muhammad to Medina. Both cities are located in what is modern-day Saudi Arabia, so maybe she misspoke. Don't really see how any of that is relevant to the peaceful nature of Islam.
Talking of maths, by the way, a man named Al-Khwarizmi was one of the greatest mathematicians of all time, a Muslim, worked in the golden age of Islam. He's the guy who came up with not just algebra, but algorithms. Without algorithms, you wouldn't have laptops. Without laptops, Daniel Johnson tonight wouldn't have been able to print out his speech in which he came to berate us Muslims for holding back the advance and intellectual achievements of the West, which all happened without any contribution from anyone else other than the Judeo-Christian people of Europe. In fact, Daniel David Levering, the author of the Pulitzer Prize-winning historian and author of The Golden Crucible, points out that there would be no Renaissance, there would be no Reformation in Europe without the role played by Ibn Sina and Ibn Rushd and some of the great Muslim theologians, philosophers, scientists in bringing Greek texts to Europe.
I'm glad that you think achievements that are relatively positive, such as contributing to mathematics, the sciences, and other aspects of world culture, somehow indicate that Islam can't be violent. Even if your beloved prophet had to use a force of 10,000 to make the citizens of Mecca see things his way. The addition of the law of sines to the study of trigonometry, or the discovery of the Tusi couple in geometry nearly 1,000 years ago, not to mention countless other math and science contributions, doesn't mean anything in the context of this talk. Innovation doesn't equal peace.
Daniel talked about my article in the New Statesman, which got me a lot of flack, where I talked about the anti-Semitism that is prevalent in some parts of the Muslim community, which indeed it is. Of course, I didn't say in that piece that it was caused by the religion of Islam. In fact, modern anti-Semitism in the Middle East was imported from, finish the sentence, Christian, Judeo-Christian Europe, where I believe some certainly bad things happened to the Jewish people. In fact, Tom Friedman, Jewish-American columnist in the New York Times, told me in this very chamber last week that he believed, had Muslims been running Europe in the 1940s, 6 million extra Jews would still be alive today. So I'm not going to take lessons in anti-Semitism from someone who's here to defend the Judeo-Christian values of a continent that murdered 6 million Jews.
Wow. So Islam is peaceful because the followers of Islam didn't invent hating Jews. Don't get me wrong, I think most religions, especially the Abrahamic religions, teach some very questionable and often contradictory things. I don't think any of them naturally qualify as peaceful. But way to shift the blame. We learned it from you! Great argument. I'm totally convinced.
Moving swiftly on.
Yeah, good idea.
That is my point. I don't think Europe is evil or bad. I'm a very proud European. I don't want to judge Europe on that basis, but if we're going to play this gutter game where we pull out the Bali bombing and we pull out examples of anti-Semitism in the Islamic community, then of course I'm going to come back and say, well, hold on. I mean, look, let's be very clear. Daniel here was a last-minute replacement for Douglas Murray, who had to pull out. And Douglas and I have a well-documented differences, but to be fair to Douglas, as to be fair to Anne-Marie and to Peter, atheists. Atheists see all religions as evil, violent, threatening.
Straw man much? Atheists see all religions as evil, violent, and threatening. Do we now? We are a cogent group allied under a single belief with a unifying doctrine? Nope. Hashtag not all atheists. I personally see most religions as antiquated ways for human beings to try and put order to a world that seems chaotic. Most religions offer easy answers to hard questions and reassurance that this world is only a pit stop in an eternal journey. I don't hate religions, or the religious. I just think that faith-based ideologies create more problems than they solve. But sorry to interrupt your peace talk. Please continue.
What the problem I have with Daniel's speech is that Daniel comes here to run this robust defense of Christianity, forgetting that his fellow Christians, people who said they were acting in the name of Jesus, gave us the Crusades, the Spanish Inquisition, the anti-Jewish pogroms, European colonialism in Africa and Asia, the Lord's Resistance Army in Uganda, not to mention countless arson and bomb attacks on abortion clinics in the United States of America to this very day. I would like a little bit of humility from Daniel first before he begins lecturing other communities and other faiths on violence, terror, and intolerance.
I totally agree. Christianity is a religion with a long history of violence and bloodshed. Anyone not admitting that is either ignorant or is being dishonest. However, you can't justify your religion's tendency to violence with demonstrations of another religion's similar tendencies. Though, to be honest with you, I haven't noticed any Christians in the Middle East recently trying to build a Christian caliphate centered on Leviticus law. So, there is that. But to be fair, there are extremist groups in Christianity, which nowadays are mostly hate mongers like the Westboro Baptist Church. But they do exist. In fact, most religions have extreme factions. Generally, these groups show flaws in the basic theology of a religion. In most religions, extremists or fundamentalists take the text either too literally or interpret it in a way other than the majority of current believers. But you can't say someone who is extreme isn't truly of a certain religion. That whole no true Scotsman thing. Also, your religion started with violence. The Battle of Badr or Uhud, anybody? Muhammad waged war, and killed. Also, if your holy book can be so easily distorted by these terrorists you see as not true Muslims, how is it the infallible word of a god?
I believe that Christianity, like Islam, like pretty much every mainstream religion, is based on love and compassion and faith. We have a graduate in law, a graduate in modern history, a graduate in chemistry, and you know, I admire all of their intellects and their abilities, but we don't have anyone who's actually an expert on Islam, a scholar of Islam, a historian of Islam, a speaker of Arabic, even a terrorism expert or a security expert or a pollster, let alone to talk about what Muslims believe or think.
Well, I guess it's a good thing we have you, except if a terrorist can't speak for Islam, why can you? Are you God?
Instead, we have people coming here, putting forward these views, putting forward these sweeping opinions. Listen to Professor Robert Pape of the University of Chicago, one of America's leading terrorism experts, who, unlike our esteemed opposition tonight, studied every single case of suicide terrorism between 1980 and 2005, 315 cases in total. And he concluded, and I quote, There is little connection between suicide terrorism and Islamic fundamentalism or any of the world's religions. Rather, what nearly all suicide terrorist attacks have in common is a specific secular and strategic goal to compel modern democracies to withdraw military forces from territory that the terrorists consider to be their homeland.
Cool, you have a source that can read minds. That's awesome. But even if that statement is true, are you suggesting that something can't be strategically planned with political and religious motives? There may be some Republicans that disagree with you. Well, seeing as how you've done a fairly piss-poor job of telling me why your religion is so peaceful, let's go ahead and look at some numbers, because numbers are fun. Christians account for over 2.4 billion people globally, or about 33% of Earth's total population. Muslims, as the second largest religion, account for more than 1.7 billion people. That's 23% of the total population of our planet. In 2015, more than 28,300 people died as a result of terrorist attacks globally, according to the State Department report. The top 3 perpetrators of these terror attacks were ISIS, Boko Haram, and the Taliban. These 3 Islamic groups accounted for more than 50% of the entire death toll from all terror attacks in that year, which seems disproportionately high if Islam is just as peaceful as Christianity. Wouldn't it stand to reason that the Christian kill count would be higher? But hell, they don't even make the list. And if the attacks are politically motivated, as Mr. Mehdi argues, why then, in that same report, does it show that private citizens and private property were attacked 33% of the time, and government and police forces combined were only attacked about 24% of the time? Oh, and some bonus fun facts. This time with colors. On screen, you'll see a map. This map represents various countries with laws in regards to apostasy in Islam. The penalties for the super horrible crime of leaving Islam vary in these places from being a minor crime, like the orange areas, to more serious crimes that can lead to prison time, loss of child custody, or even divorce, which is represented by the brown areas. Some of the predominantly Muslim countries on this map have laws that support the execution of Islamic deserters. Those are the ones in red. Their motto, believe or die. Doesn't seem oppressive at all. Also not a general sign of how peaceful a religion can be is when some of the faithful of that religion send death threats to people for simply drawing a cartoon depiction of their prophet. Or worse still, when some asshats act on that threat. Charlie Hebdo, anyone? The fact is, all of these horrifying acts we've been talking about are indeed mostly the acts of individuals or groups of individuals. However, it may be that these individuals are acting on impulses that are colored by the religion that permeates every aspect of their life. A religion taken to its blood-soaked roots or to a logical extremity. These fanatics may take things too literally or in a way that goes against the grain of popular Islamic belief, but they are not less Islamic for it. Many passages of the Quran stand in defiance of any sense of tranquility, and certainly foster an aura of oppression, especially if you happen to be female or if you happen to like pork. Saying that a religion isn't at least partially responsible for the terrible things that are carried out in its name is just disingenuous. But Islam is not alone in its tendency to distance itself from less than ideal associates. Many religions and groups will often recite a version of the no true Scotsman fallacy, but it's all just posturing. At the end of the day, my position can be summed up as this. Islam is a religion. It's comprised of people, and like any group, it is a culmination of all things, good or bad, done by the people within that group. And unfortunately, people are just shit sometimes, regardless of which magical sky tyrant they believe in. No religion is of peace when its members, past or present, have blood on their hands. And to me, that's the scary part in all of this. That people are wasting time defending the peaceful nature of a religion rather than paying a closer attention to the parts of the ideology that generate these so-called extremist views. Worldviews that don't allow for error are very dangerous. So no, Islam is not a religion of peace. None of the Abrahamic religions are. There's been too much blood for that to be true. Deal with it. But do feel free to disagree, and leave comments. I prefer discussion, but trolling's fine too. Thanks as always for watching, and special thanks to Jax for drawing this awesome fan art. Check out her channel in the link below. I'm the Irreligionist. Have a science-tastic day.